Alright, today we're going to be looking at Adobe Illustrator. Second time's the charm. The first time I recorded this, the sound wasn't working, so the second go is always better. Alright, we are going to create a new file. You can click Create New, or you can come up File New. While we're going through this, you want to make sure that you are logged in to your graniteschools.org email account with your 9 number. So it'll be your 9 number at graniteschools.org and then your password for your computers here at school. Okay? You want to make sure you log in correctly, or else you're not going to have access to the full Adobe suite, which you all do using your graniteschools.org email. Okay? We're going to shoot over to Art and Illustration. It's always nice to just be on Art and Illustration so we make sure we know where we're at. And we're going to change points to inches. Okay? We got to measure in inches because we actually know what inches mean, don't know what points mean. We're going to do 8 by 10. I'm going to change my orientation. You can toggle between the two of these to do landscape or portrait. Okay? And then I'm just going to click Create. And here I am on a fresh new artboard. Okay, couple things, scrolling to move around, but you can also click the space bar. It's going to give you a little hand, and you can move your artboard around. So if you need to move up or if you need to move down, sometimes it's easier than scrolling. We hold Shift whenever we need to hold proportions, and if you do a little Control minus minus, that's going to give you zoomed out, and Control plus 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 is going to zoom you in. Okay, I'm just going to Control minus so I can see my full artboard here. Okay, second thing, you want to make sure that you are up here in the right hand corner. You're going to click the drop down menu and you want to be on Essentials Classic. That is going to give us all of our window tools and make sure that we can actually see everything. It's going to give us some editing options up here at the top as well. Okay, so to get started, to understand some of the tools that we're going to be using on the left hand side, we're going to start off with the pen tool. Okay, that's this little icon here. It looks like a mechanical pen, and to use this you click, click, click. You can also click and hold to do curves, and then click. You always want to make sure that you close a shape in order to fill it. Okay, we always want to close shapes. If we want to do lines, that's totally fine, but we don't fill lines. Lines are just as they are. Okay, two really important mouse tools up here on the top left. We have our selection tool, which basically just gives us access to moving it, rotating it, and also resizing it. And that's where that shift is going to come in. If I hold shift, it's going to keep proportions for when I'm resizing. Okay. On the very right hand side of that mouse, the direct selection tool, it helps us edit any of these anchor points. So if I double click any of these little squares, I can manipulate what that shape looks like. Okay. It's going to give us different options. Sometimes we have a hand or what I like to call an arm, so we can rotate things even further. We can create slopes. Okay. And we can also use this little circle to round things out. All right. That's some of the most basic tools here. What I'm going to show you now, we're going to come back up to our black mouse tool, aka the selection tool, and there's two places that you can edit the stroke and change your color. We're going to talk about stroke first. The very first place I'm going to show you how to do stroke is on the very right hand side. If you hover over, it's these 3 lines, and what you can do is you can increase, you want to make sure your shape is selected, and you can change the weight of that line. Okay, another place you can do it is up here at the top, this top left hand corner here. Okay, I'm going to have it just be like that, and if you want to change the color of the inside of the shape, you can. You come over to these 2 squares, you double click the fill square, and then you can choose a color. And if you want to change the stroke color, you can double click the stroke, and then you can change that color as well. Okay. What's really cool about our little fill section is you can do it on the very left hand side or the left hand corner up here as well. And you can kind of flip through, you can swap these if you'd like. You can say I don't want a stroke color, and you can click this little red diagonal. You can say okay, I don't want a line, or you can reverse it. You can have a line, but maybe you don't want the inside to be filled, so you can say none, okay? So say we want a gradient. We want like a mesh of blended color. That's what we call the gradient tool. And I can have that fill selected, and I can click this little square here, and it will turn it into a gradient. Now I'm moving kind of fast, and you're going to do this on your own. Don't worry. You can take this video at the pace that you need, but we don't want it to be black and white. If you did, that's great, but to change it to RGB, you double click one of these gradient sliders and choose this little drop down menu here and click RGB. That's where you're going to be able to select your color and be able to change the properties of that tone. And then you can add points as well by clicking underneath. Now I'm just going to double click that black one there, change it to RGB so that I can kind of get this little rainbow going here. And really, you can do a lot of different stuff with it. Just going to change that color to, sure, we'll do that. So right now I have it going linearly, but you can also change it to radial, so it's kind of circular. To edit that gradient further, what you can do is you can click this gradient tool here on the left hand side, and you can actually rotate. You can actually change the gradient sliders here, and then you can actually adjust where the point of the gradient is happening. And just be careful, because sometimes you can delete the colors, but you can always add them in, and you can actually rotate it. So definitely play around with that, because we sometimes want blended color. So right now, this is where I'm at. We have gone through a couple of different things, the pen tool. One more thing about the pen tool is if you right click it, you can add anchor points to an existing path, a vector line, or you can right click and you can delete anchor points. So say I didn't like this little corner. I could delete that corner. Right, now I'm kind of getting a really weird shape, but you get my point. You get my idea. I'm just going to change this to be a normal shape color. Okay. That's really nice, because then you can edit and rearrange things as you need it. Next thing, we already went through the hand tool, the stroke. Two more things actually. Okay, so we have this little rectangle tool here, and that's really nice because you can make rectangles. If you hold shift, you can make perfect squares. If you right click that, you can get to the ellipse tool, hold shift, get perfect circles. Okay. Right click, you can do this like rounded rectangle, right? Really nice for making basic shapes. And also we have our star tool, so you can hold shift and make stars. And if you hold control, not control, ignore that. So yeah, you can make shapes like that, and you can always edit them with your direct selection tool. If I wanted to manipulate that anchor point or that anchor point, because I wanted it to be different, you can do that as well. Okay. One last thing, I'm just going to delete some shapes here. We're not going to get into this free drawing too much, but it'll be helpful to know. If you right click this tool here, it's a circle with a pencil type thing stabbing through it. You right click it and go to pencil. The pencil is basically the same thing as the pen tool, except for it lets you draw lines more organically, and then you close it, connect it, and then it will vectorize the lines for you. That's really nice because sometimes we want to draw more freeform, and we can always go in and edit those points as well. Right? We can use the anchor points, we can use the handles to change things. Okay? You always want to double click that square. Kind of an interesting shape. The next thing that we're going to talk about, so that we can keep our project organized, I'm going to delete this here. Oh, I'm just going to click and drag, and then I'm just going to delete everything. Okay. Another really important thing is the layers window. So I'm just going to click that. This is so we can keep things organized. Okay. I'm just going to add a layer. My first layer I'm going to title vertical line. And my second layer I'm going to title horizontal line. Okay, sorry about the noise, my dog is being crazy. So I'm going to click on the vertical line, and I'm going to open up my pen tool. I'm going to make sure I have a color. I want to make sure that my line color is black and that I don't have a fill. Okay, I want to make sure that I have no fill. I'm going to come up here to the top and I'm going to go over until it says intersect, and then I'm going to click, hold shift, and I'm going to pull that down until it says intersect again. Okay, to end my pen tool or essentially restart it, I'm just going to click enter, and then I'm going to come over to layers and I'm going to lock that. What's cool about this is that I can lock a layer so that if I want to work on top of it, it's not going to mess it up. And if I don't want to see it, I can toggle visibility and I can call what I call ghosting it. Okay, so I'm going to come on to horizontal line layer, open up that pen tool, and just do the same thing. Come where I see intersect, click, shift, hold all the way across, intersect, enter, and then I'm going to lock that layer. Okay, this is how far I want you to get, and then we are going to be talking about the scope of the assignment this week, so stay tuned for instructions. And be sure to go at this video at your own pace because I know I kind of breezed through that, so if you have questions, let me know.